So I'm like, where in the world? PP world. Oh, but seriously, lots of video evidence exists of that man being naked during the England celebrations in front of a PC world. That is indecent exposure. So if the police could do their job and serve this man a very heavy fine, that would be great. That'd be great.
I mean, if you're naked in front of a PC world, do you really need a fine to bring your life more rock bottom than it already is?
I think he was just looking for a replacement dongle, if I'm honest.
Hello, everyone.
Hi! We're not going to talk about the Euro 2020 final anymore, because fucking this country is disgusting. But what we are going to talk about is much more sensible things that are absolutely worth it and you know, are progressing the pop culture discourse and indeed human thought evolution going forward.
Very important things.
Yeah, we're going to talk about two fictional comic book things.
Oh, yes, very important things.
Welcome to Big Dumb Cast. I am Chris Glorious Purpose Johnson.
And I am Alligator Loki.
Yeah, you are. But are you a Loki? Or are you just an alligator with a hat on?
Well,
That's the question that we don't know the answer to yet, because we're recording this before the Loki finale. You want our thoughts on that? Come back next week, you bastards.
the Lanale.
Very good.
Hey.
Very good. Is the finale itself a Loki variant?
Probably. Or have all the episodes so far been Loki variants? But before we go any further, let's do a big upfront spoiler warning.
Yes, oh my god.
We're going to spoil the shit out of the penultimate episode of Season 1 of Loki, I suppose it is.
So by the time you're listening to this, it's been a week and a half since it came out. We're not doing any soft conversation beforehand. We really want to catch up ahead of next week's episode when we wrap up the series so far.
Yes.
We're also going to be spoiling the ever-loving shit out of
Black Widow.
It's a cover. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. I was like, that's going to get caught.
Acapella's alright.
Love you, miss you, love you. Anyway, we're going to be talking about Black Widow in its fullest. You can probably tell from the thumbnail and... Oh, look, Florence Pugh's face. So...
Florence pew 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 pew
You did not say pew pew pew.
Well, she's not going to say pew pew pew. She was funny enough, though.
She brought the thunder, though. And on reflection, she was my favourite part of the movie.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that. But
We'll get there.
So, spoilers for all of those two thingies. We will not be holding back. We're basically doing a review discussion, so stick around for that.
Yeah.
Beforehand, though, let's touch very briefly on the other big news this week, which coincidentally happened to be Marvel. So, sorry everybody who's complaining that we're just covering Marvel this week.
Sorry, Pete. Life's a cruel stress.
What if that new trailer and poster dropped?
It looks alright, doesn't it?
Oh, it looks a bit sexy. It's a little bit. Ooh, it's
just
doing
lots
things.
of stuff.
It's
like
doing things to me. I'll be honest.
I'm just impressed by just how weird they're going with some of it.
I just want to rub up against Uatu's head.
Well, quite.
Yeah, and his bald head.
The ball.
Marvel's What If is a new show from Marvel Studios coming to Disney Plus, animated series, launching way sooner than we were originally sort of hinted at. It's launching in 3 freaking weeks as of this podcast.
Yeah, but don't forget, the last year and a bit has just sort of melded into one time tube.
And speaking of time, it looks like there's a boatload of what-ifisms going on in this. Time travel, alternate reality.
Yeah.
Keeping with the basic comic of the What If, basic premise of the What If comic from Marvel, which is like, hello, do you remember that thing that happened? Well, what if it had gone this way a little bit? For any of our like Doctor Who listeners, it's basically like a shitload of episodes of Turn Left. Like, it's just a load of, yeah, but what happens if this happens? Where does it go then? What happens here? What happens to this person? What happened to time?
It goes to places.
Got some fucking places. And there's some pretty obvious ones in the trailer we've touched on before. Steve Rogers doesn't take the super soldier serum, Peggy Carter does. So we get a Captain America story with Peggy Carter as Captain Carter, who was the like top trending topic in entertainment pop culture for about a day.
It looks fucking great.
Because Mummy Please Step on Me.
God.
Captain Carter and Lady Dimitrescu. Who wins? Whoever wins, we win even more.
God.
So
Stop being horny on me.
Hey. Yes. So so there's that. We've seen from footage of that like Howard Stark's going to build an armor that Steve's going to drive around, and the Lego set has revealed to us that it's called the Hydra Smasher.
I like it.
And we now know Toby Jones is in it as well. We've seen him going, oh shit, in a trailer, which is interesting. And, you know, there's a few things like, oh, look, what if T'Challa was picked up instead of Peter Quill by the Ravagers? So T'Challa is Star-Lord.
It's a weird one, but
It's a weird one, but, like, you know, sure. Visually, I'm like, okay, let's see where this goes. But what this trailer's done that none of the prior marketing has done is revealed that there's a story arc. There's a crossover going on here. These things are going to intertwine, which is not what you'd expect from a What If storyline normally. They are very standalone, so I wonder if we're going to be getting a WandaVision-esque, like, standalone. Hang on, that was in the other one. Wait a minute. And it just sort of tumbles into a storyline. Yeah. Because then that gives us a chance to have our What If cake and eat it too.
I do want that. Do want a cake in the shape of a What If.
Is that Shumagorath? Is that big tentacle beastie Shumagorath?
Might well be.
I kind of hope so. I mean, it looks like it's got a mouth, and Shumagorath doesn't traditionally have a mouth.
And he could manifest a mouth.
That's very true.
Could mouth-a-fest.
He could mouth-a-fest. And he has seen enough hentai to know where this is going.
Exactly. If you're going to do Shumagorath, do it in the fucking
animated series.
Don't do it in live action. He might end up turning up in Multiverse of Madness, so who knows? With
the Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, frickin' Marvel Zombies. We get a look at Zombie Iron Man this time. Looks like Hawkeye's got a story to himself. There's Renin. Looks like Black Widow has a story featuring her and the Hulk. At one point she's lobbing Red Guardian shield.
That's neat.
It's like, that's interesting.
Is that Red Guardian shield or is that Taskmaster? Well, we'll get
I freeze framed that shit. It's the grey star with the red circle around it.
Okay.
Like, But that makes me go, hang on, they said this would only be using source material from the first 23 movies.
Ooh. They lied.
It's 10 episodes, so it also isn't an episode per film. Which I think is why we're going to see multiple characters showing up in multiple people's stories, so that we get a bit of everything from the different movies. Like we see our first glimpse of Spider-Man, who's also on the poster wearing Doctor Strange's cape.
Yep.
We have a story where it looks like Ultron wins, and not only wins, based on the poster, uses Vision's body and gets the Infinity Stones. So, a lot's going on. Daughter of Thanos, Gamora, in the gold armor with the big helicopter blade sword thing.
Gotta love the helicopter blade.
Gotta love Thanos' helicopter. I'm ready. I'd like it now, please. Very much so.
I am ready to get it on. We don't have much longer to wait.
Do you remember when everyone was like, it's going to be Marvel fatigue? And then we had a year with no Marvel. And now we're just like, feed me, mother.
Give me the Marvel.
Feed me, mother. Father, it is time to play in the nursery. Bring me my favourite toys again.
Daddy made you your favourite.
Open wide. What are your thoughts on What If? Let us know. BigDamnContact@gmail.com and tweet us at BigDamnCast because we'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, big heads up, if you want to talk to us about the Loki finale, feels like we're wrapping up, doesn't it? If you want to talk to us about the Loki finale, do that in time for next week's recording, which will be... Well, hang on. Let me check my time-sensitive Google. Which will be out. We recorded this Friday when this episode comes out.
Yay! So, okay.
Yeah, you buggers.
So that's Friday the 23rd.
Yes, Friday the 23rd we'll be recording our Loki finale episode, so if you want to get your thoughts in, watch Loki's finale going out on the 21st. 21st? No, hang on. That's what are we talking about? We're dribbling out of our ears. If you want to... Fuck.
This episode will go out on the 22nd.
Yeah.
On Thursday. We will be recording...
No. This episode's going out on my maths is terrible. The 15th.
Oh God, I've skipped a week.
Oh God, no! This episode will be going out on Thursday 15th.
Jesus Christ!
On Friday 16th, we will be recording our thoughts on the Loki finale. If you want to join us for that discussion, get your emails in between this Wednesday when the episode comes out and Friday. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you've probably got like an hour to get your email in.
Yeah.
Hurry up. Because next week we're going to talk about the Loki finale. Spoiler alert! Massive spoiler alert now, though, because we're talking the penultimate episode.
Yeah.
And stick around for the Black Widow chat as well. Those who aren't sticking around, bye. See you next week.
What can we say about Loki without spoiling it at this point?
Richard E. Grant knows how to waft a cape around.
Oh, he's having the time of his life,
that bit where
boy.
he pisses himself laughing and he just, like, casts it in front of him.
It's the...
It sits on the chair.
The best Richard E. Grant moment, for me, was when he conjures the duplicate of himself. And the duplicate of himself is just going for it, Batman 66 style, doing all his spell casting, while him and our Loki and Kid Loki and Alligator Loki escape.
Yeah.
So very good.
Basic summary for those who don't give a shit about spoilers and are still listening. Loki was pruned last week at the TVA. Turns out he's not dead. He's been sent to a place called the Void. A horrible landscape of pruned and variant castaways, which is overseen by a horrible smog monster called Alioth. And he's saved by a band of Lokis who, in turn, they eventually find Sylvie and Mobius, Mobius, who is also here in the Void, and
because he got pruned.
His pizza delivery car.
Yeah.
And they realise that what they need to do is Alioth is obviously the key to whoever's in charge of all of this. So let's enchant Alioth, and then we can find whatever the next stage is and lead us conveniently into our Part 6 finale episode.
lead us to Kang or Immortus, one of the two. It's going to be one of the two.
Sylvie versus Ravonna was brilliant.
Yeah.
With Miss Minutes, trying to stall for time, going through this Rolodex.
I like the way that they use
There's a void
Miss
ship.
Minutes.
Oh, really? Yep. It's really deep in the thing. We've got to keep looking. It's like, oh, for God's sake.
It's definitely here.
They've pressed a panic button and they're stalling for time.
Love it.
And I love that Sylvie's solution is just like, oh wait, yeah, and she just prunes herself in front of them. Because as far as they're concerned, as far as we know, they're like, oh, she has just killed herself. That's weird.
Ravonna knows that she hasn't.
Well, yeah.
Because Renslayer knows a little bit more than she's letting on. Do we think that she does know who's behind it?
Well, that's a question, isn't it? Because
B-15.
B-15 sort of stares her out on it. I'm so glad she's alive.
Yeah.
I'm really upset she's in a cell. I hope Mobius gets her out. But
yeah, of course he is. She's going to burn it down.
I love that. Especially because it's exactly what Loki said in the first episode.
Yeah.
Burn this place to the ground. It's like, so what are you going to do now? Burn the TVA to the ground. Thanks for the spark. All right, Lightning McQueen, off you go.
Oh, God.
So,
good boys.
but the fact that B-15's like, you oh my God, you want to know as well, don't
Yeah.
you? To Ravonna, it's like, she obviously knows there's someone above. Like, the timekeepers were fake and there's someone above, but she doesn't know who's above.
Oh, yeah, no, because I think she believed the timekeepers were real, didn't she?
Or at least, like, she believed in what they were used for.
Yeah.
And she didn't care about what was above that because it meant the timekeepers were doing their thing and that's what she dedicated her life to. Because she might be a variant.
I would imagine she is.
Yeah. Everything's pointing to Kang, though. And it's kind of weird because it's not like the Mephisto theories in WandaVision where people are like, oh, the devil's in the details, or there's the fly and all these little things. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, hang on, that could be Mephisto. It's Quang Enterprises owns the Stark Tower that's in the Void.
Yeah.
We have Alioth, who is a similar being to Kang, but is more of a force of nature, and is from a storyline from, I think, the 90s? Basically, it's a giant smog monster in the sky that also lords over parts of time.
Yeah.
So, like, and it's in a Kang storyline.
It's the Chronivore!
Yeah, but exactly, it's like, okay, so, Kang monster, Kang company reference from his most recent disguise in Marvel continuity.
Yeah.
Ravonna Renslayer is sort of the secondary antagonist of all this at the moment.
Yeah.
And it knows more than everyone else at the TVA. One of the timekeepers bears a passing resemblance to, like, classic Kang in terms of, like, the bluish face, the hooded thing.
Yes.
Which is the one whose head fell off, which we got this sweeping, like, spiraling camera shot at the start of this episode going through all the different layers going into the Void. And the last thing it lingers on before it went to the Void was that head. And it's like, it's almost like they're going, come on. Just fucking, all of you. Get on the Kang train. So we can fucking pull it out of the station next week and reveal it was someone else entirely. Because that's the thing.
It's Reed Richards.
Well, that's the thing. Would it being Kang be a cop-out for the television show Loki? Because I think it would. I think it would sort of be like, I have no investment in this person. It's a surprise villain. Like, we know that there's someone behind the curtain. The Wizard of Oz allegory is used in this episode and everything. Like, we know that it's the whole thing of...
Is it?
It's not what you thought it was. But, like, at least in the Wizard of Oz, it's kind of a... Oh, it's someone on our level also trying to just get by in this crazy fucking emerald world.
Is it Loki all along?
Well, there's one scene in the trailer we've not seen yet, which is Loki in the Asgardian throne room.
That's okay.
So, to me, the most sense it could make is that it is another Loki.
Okay.
But what happened last time Loki was the big bad in a movie? He was working for someone else.
Yeah, he's always working for someone else.
He's working for Thanos, so what's to say it isn't a Loki working for Kang? There's your thread for Series 2 and also something that pays off in Ant-Man 3. Like, because we also had confirmation that there is a second series of Loki in development. So, I'm not saying cliffhanger, but I am saying that if they want to earn Kang, they've got the room. They've got the breathing room.
Now we get to see Tom Hiddleston have confidence in talents he doesn't have, even more. I mean, to be fair, he can act.
He can act.
He does act.
He can act like an absolute
and
beast.
He's great in this. And he's doubling in this. We get our Loki, and we get
President Loki. Oh, should we talk about the variants?
Oh, many variants.
So
many variants.
We have boastful Loki, who has got sort of a pretty... it's not modern Loki, but there's a Loki miniseries from a few years ago.
Yeah.
Where his costume is more like scaled armour and a big hooded collar and everything. I mean, obviously in the comic version he was still a scrawny little white guy. So I'm so glad they're not completely married to that and they're willing to cast here, there and everywhere. They're variants, for Christ's sake. They don't all have to be skinny white guys. Good work, everybody.
Good work.
So the fact that costume sort of harking to that was nice. But did you notice that he had a Mjolnir?
Yes.
Did you see that it was made out of, I think it's a wrench and like a railroad chunk of track?
Oh, I didn't see what it was made of. No.
It's not like an alternate Mjolnir, it's a cobbled together fake Mjolnir.
Oh, okay, cool.
Which works, because this one's more the Prince of Liars, it seems, than anything else.
Oh, yes.
Bragging about killing, I killed Captain America, I killed Iron Man. And Alligator Loki's like, bullshit. Bullshit. Although Alligator Loki apparently was pruned because he ate the wrong neighbour's cat. Just like,
very good.
No, I want to hear that story. I want to hear that backstory. So boastful Loki's fun and does the most Loki thing of all: betrays the Lokis.
Oh god, betrays the Lokis to other Lokis.
Yeah, a band of Lokis led by one Loki. Did you spot the? So in episode 2, when we're shown some of the variants, one of them's like a dude in sort of a biker helmet with really wiry apples.
Yeah.
He's the one who goes, well, about that. And then so he's in the gang of President Loki. It's like, and all of them with their makeshift horns. Because they're obviously lesser to President Loki. He's like corralled them. But they're all still like, well, I'm a Loki. So they've all got different, and you've got loads of different types, genders, like, just brilliant.
Different horny helmets.
Brilliant. And also a great excuse to get President Loki in there as a reference to the Vote Loki miniseries from 2016. And like the really sort of iconic looking cover where he's on the front just like, come on. Like with his green suit and tiny horns and everything, a little button on his jacket.
On his lapel.
Love that Hiddleston played that because it was worth it for when Alligator Loki bites his hand.
Oh,
and he
so
just
good.
Screams.
The highest, shrillest scream.
So good. Some folks online pointed out that might be an Easter egg as well in an episode full of them, which we'll get to. But that might be a reference to the fact that Hiddleston, his other role at Disney is he's played Captain Hook in one of the Tinkerbell movies. So an alligator biting his hand off. It's the closest thing you're going to get to a crocodile.
That's quite neat.
We also have Kid Loki.
Yep.
Who is just ripped straight from the goddamn pages of Journey into Mystery, which is also the name of the episode, which was really nice. And he's in charge, which I love. I love the fact that classic Loki, played by Richard E. Grant's just like, he's in charge. It's his kingdom.
And seems to be somewhat repentant for having killed Thor.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So that's Kid Loki's cock-up.
Yeah.
Now he resides in his underground bowling alley lair.
Because the sort of thing we get from classic Loki and Kid Loki is that they are Lokis that want to change.
Yeah.
They don't want to just be the same old Loki. And that's...
Or in the case of classic Loki, made the mistake of changing.
Yeah.
When time has gone, no, that's not how this works. And it's like, oh, am I not allowed to? Am I not allowed to change? I want to. Because, he... Oh, such a nice detail. So, his backstory is he had the exact same life as the Loki we all saw in the MCU.
Yeah.
Except when he attacked Thanos in the start of Infinity War, it was an illusion.
Yeah.
And he hid himself as a piece of debris.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of nice. It showed the individual abilities of them all. They all have different focuses on what they put more time into. And his is, like you said, casting really good illusions who can go all Adam West in the background.
Illusions that can like properly solid as well.
Yeah, and can. I mean, the rising of a fake Asgard at the end as a distraction with a sampling of Rise of the Flight of the Valkyries playing in the theme was just like, oh, that is cool. So. Like, he was an illusion. And what was great about that is that was a fan theory when Infinity War came out from all the stands that were desperately, like, trying to believe Loki was still alive somehow, was that he was disguised because there's a piece of rubble after he dies that flies behind Thor that sort of looks like the silhouette of Loki with the horns. And it was a fan theory. It was like, he's alive. And we were all thankfully like, no, he's dead. Because then it has actual fucking weight. Like, the Loki we spent time with is gone. He is dead. He's fucked. We get to have our Loki cake and eat it now because we get to spend time with a different one. But that one is dead. The one that we invested in who became a better person is gone. Deal with it.
But this one is able to learn from the lessons imparted to the original Loki and become a better person.
And classic Loki gets to also like take that cake that's been eaten and eat more of it by going, hey, fan theory, guess what? It did happen in my universe.
Yeah.
And then I hid and got really sad and old. and then decided to come back.
And then I tried to come back, and that's when I got pruned.
Which makes me think, is his dimension, all the things that happened are the same as the MCU, but everyone's wearing the classic 60s costumes?
Yes, that's what I like to believe.
I want to see that. I want to see Thanos in big blue pyjamas.
It'll be his Thanos copter.
Speaking of,
which we see in this.
Let's dive in. So
he puts his name on his helicopter, so everyone knows that it's his.
So many websites misreported on this week. It's ridiculous. So
God.
The Thanos copter appeared once originally.
Yeah.
In it was like Spidey Super Friends issue, which was a comic book spinning out of the Electric Company.
Yeah, because it was
kids' TV show, and Spidey's a silent, like, it's a mind skit piece that's in it, and it was about them going, we'll have a Marvel superhero in our kids' show that's about, morals and lessons and maths and literacy, and let's do it. And then they had a comic spin-off from that. One of them had Spider-Man and Hellcat.
Yes.
Fighting Thanos, who for some reason is in New York, robbing banks, driving a helicopter. Because it's a kid's comic, and the people who put it together just went, he looks interesting. We'll have him. We'll have that guy. And that's it. Like, there's nothing more to it. It's just daft and silly. It's like if a kid was playing with the toys and just making up whatever story they want.
Yeah.
It's just harmless fun. It got ridiculed like crazy. A few years ago, a Deadpool comic where they go back in time brought it up for jokes, and he was in a Thanos copter, and they take the piss out of it. And it's like, there we go. Memes. That's the picture a load of these articles have been using. And it's like, get your sources right, you bastards. But yeah, it's an oft-joked about thing. Why would the Mad Titan, the guy who commits half genocides around the universe, drive a silly helicopter with his name on it? Don't know. But in one of these realities, it fucking exists, because there it is in the void. We also had the Red Skull's rocket from Captain America First Avenger, the twirly one.
Yep.
We had a helicarrier with a giant fucking Hydra logo on its main base. We had... I'm just trying to list off stuff that we've seen in the films before. We've had...
giant yellow jacket helmet.
Is it the same one? I mean, who fucking knows at this point?
Who
Maybe
knows?
It is. Maybe he was in the Macroverse too long after being shrunk down to fuck, and a TVA showed up and went, you're not meant to be here. Prune. Who knows?
Who could say?
Or dare to dream. We had the Grey Aster, the Dark Aster.
Yes.
The Ronan ship from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, it could be a accuser ship because they all look the same, but yeah.
True. Yeah. Hey, come on now. don't be so Ronan the accusist. Jesus Christ! Man.
I accuse you. I am an accuser, and I accuse you. J'accuse.
Fair enough. Oh fuck! What else up from Marvel? There's the Stark Tower. Except it's Quang Tower. And there's probably more. But in terms of other stuff that was just kind of kooky and cool from pop culture, there was the SS Bastard.
Eldridge,
that's the one. I was going to look at that. SS Eldridge, which myths about it saying that, it was part of an invisibility experiment. It got teleported to another dimension, despite the fact there's a record of it being scrapped in the late 90s, so of course it didn't. But they played into it that, well, maybe in one universe.
Yeah.
It just vanished, like Bermuda Triangle style, and ended up in the void. We have a Sphinx without a broken nose, which makes you go, hang on, is that why that's been pruned? Because it didn't get broken. What the fuck? We've got several of the 7 wonders of the world. The 8 wonders of the world, if you want to go that far. Scattered around. We've got Golden Gate Bridge, just all smushed at one point, like into a corner, all crammed together. Then we have the bowling alley itself, which has got, what's the name of the video game? Polybius, which apparently, again, urban legend, hypnosis and epilepsy triggering things in it that are meant to condition children into becoming like violent and all this and the other. So, oh look, it's a random like conspiracy thing. Let's stick it in here. We've also got a bunch of kind of discarded things which no one uses anymore or has been left behind. Kind of like how Loki's feeling and all the various Lokis are feeling. To name but a few. Ecto Cooler. Kid Loki's drinking Ecto Cooler. A popular drink in the 90s because of Real Ghostbusters. That then we're done with it now. Ghostbusters ain't popular anymore. Stop making it. The film on the billboard for the drive-in movie that Mobius drives by when he finds Loki is an allusion to one of the first shorts with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, Disney's first character, where he goes to Mars and is like dumped there and finds a bunch of other creatures out there who've been abandoned there. So mirroring the plot of Loki, and is about the Disney character that got abandoned and replaced with Mickey Mouse. And it's like, oh, that is some delicious meta shit. That is some very good, guys. Well, the people who designed this like making things. That's the sense I get from this show. The people who make it like to make things.
Yes.
And they're making things very well.
Yes, I believe so.
We have the head of the Living Tribunal. A statue of the head of the fucking Living Tribunal. The sort of the overseer of like justice and righteousness in the universe with its 3-faced head. Just a big old statue of it. Don't pay any attention to it, anybody. It's just there. It's like, what? God, there's loads. There'll be stuff we've missed. There will be stuff we've missed.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find a list to see if there's anything like really cool that we missed.
But the most kind of obvious nod is to Thor Frog of Thunder / Throg. Because again, let's point this out. They are 2 separate characters. One of them's Thor, and the other's a dude who got turned into a frog Thor. But this references both of them. Because of the way he's dressed and the way he's trying to get hold of Mjolnir is a reference to the latter one. And the number on the jar he's been trapped in The Simpsons floor gag that we see him in, which is brilliant. Like, going through the earth. That's one of my favourite things that The Simpsons sort of gave us. The going from upstairs to downstairs or vice versa shot where you see through the floorboards and there's always just something there that shouldn't be there. Yeah. We got it with Loki, and it's a jar with the issue number of Thor being turned into a frog on it. And a Mjolnir. There's a whole freaking Mjolnir there. Like, if one of the Lokis knew that, they'd probably try and get to it, right? They'd be like, we could probably use this in some way. Yeah. I mean, none of us are fucking worthy, but we can try. Poor little Throg.
There is one little one that we missed, when I'm not surprised we missed it, because it's
teensy.
It's teensy and very clever. The number plate on the pizza delivery car that Mobius is driving.
Go on, yeah.
Is GRNW1D, which is a reference to Mark Grunwald. Mark Grunwald is a Marvel artist who was the basis for the comics version of Mobius, appearance-wise.
Yeah, so Mobius is driving a car with a license plate referencing the dude who inspired how Mobius looks in the first place. That, again, is a tasty Easter egg.
It's very, very good.
That's a lovely, lovely little Easter egg. Basically, pedantic Easter egg searching and hunting nerds were fed very well this week. That does not take away from just how fucking good the episode was as a setup for our last episode.
I am full of reference pudding.
Feed me trivia meats. Father, bring me the trivia meat platter.
I am sated by mythology gags.
Where do you sit on the Loki Well, that's it for this week, guys. Mystery solved. Where do you sit on the Loki Sylvie romance? I don't know how I feel about it.
It's weird, isn't it?
Like, I love the idea that, as Mobius put last week, of course the only person you could ever, like, fall in love with is yourself. But I thought that still left it open to interpretation as to whether it was like having actual love and self-care for himself through Sylvie, like seeing how brilliant he and they could all be, and you know how much they need to stop trying to appeal to others and like rule others to be important. It's like they are good enough. And I kind of thought that's where they were going. And then before he got pruned last week, it was like, hang on, this seems more like a lovey-dovey speech. And then this week, 2 half frost giants both pretend to be cold so they can share a blanket. And I'm like, they're really going here. Okay. All right. Don't know how I feel.
It's odd.
It's. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Missy and the Master flirting in The Doctor Falls.
Yeah.
I hated that as well. I was like, nope. No.
Feels wrong.
Flirting, fine. That's kind of cute and hilarious, whatever. But, like, the Master making a reference to the fact that he's got a hard on. And it's just like, what is happening? Like, why is this happening? Now we've got Loki's trying to...
Bang.
Yeah. And that's the thing. What's been really refreshing about this series is, oh my god, look, hey, male and female characters can have a platonic relationship of being, like, friends achieving a goal and, like, loving each other because they love each other as human beings. Like, isn't this wonderful to see? Same way that, like, it annoyed me that the fandom has been really leaning into Loki, Mobius, / because I'm like, that's fine if you want to do that, but what was really lovely about this was seeing...
are always going to lean into pairings
two
and
male
though.
characters actually getting along and having... Do you know what I mean?
You've seen how many Thor and Loki slash.
The same that are annoyed that Anthony Mackie is taken aback by the Bucky Sam / fiction, because he too is like, but isn't it just nice to like see what we've spent a lot of time working on, which is 2 usually aggressive male characters actually being open and loving of each other.
I get it.
It's sort of like, headcanon, fine. You guys do whatever you want to jerk off to, you do that. That is great. If you feel like it'd be better representation in your headcanon, go for it. But like, it's so refreshing after years of it being several archetypes of how characters of certain genders should interact with each other. It's so refreshing to see that finally getting smashed down. And it's kind of then upsetting to be like, nope, they're leaning back into the male and female lead are going to fall in love by the end of it. I'm like, come on.
I do think it's just subversion in that they are both the same person.
Yeah.
And I think there will probably be some kind of twist on it. But, it is what it is. And if they go that way, they go that way. If they don't go that way, they don't go that way.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I don't really have any strong feelings on it either way.
I do. It should be Loki / alligator Loki.
Yeah. I don't think that's...
Get that scale, King. Get that scale, dick.
Get that scale.
Get that scaly dick, King. Woo!
Get right in that cloaca.
They enchant Eliath.
A
castle is revealed.
A citadel, one might say.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like you're writing Kang on our foreheads and tattooing it in.
Yeah.
Like, if it isn't Kang, it's going to upset a lot of people. If it is Kang, it's going to upset a lot of people. It's a Mephisto Quicksilver thing again. So what I'm saying to y'all, if you happen to listen to this before you watch the finale, if you watch the finale a few days late, my advice is calm down. Let them tell the story they're telling. Feel how you feel about it afterwards. Because otherwise, your projections on what you expect it to be are just going to colour and taint whatever they do. And you're going to upset yourself over something you've caused. See Taskmaster later in this discussion.
I think it's Kang though.
It was Kang
and
along.
And I'm fully prepared to eat those words. But I just...
You're fully prepared to eat a temporal sandwich.
It's going to be one of 2 things. It's going to be Kang / Immortus. So it's going to be 3 things. One of 3 things. It's going to be Kang, or it's going to be Immortus, or
it's going to be a Loki.
It's going to be Loki.
Yeah.
I think the series is called Loki.
I'd like it to be Loki just for the cyclical nature of the series.
Yeah.
One theory I do kind of think is like, oh, that's cute, is Mobius is a Loki. And he doesn't know it, because he's a variant. Which would possibly lead on the idea that maybe everyone at the TVA is a Loki. If a Loki's in charge, it's possible that they're all Lokis. And they don't realise
infinite Loki variants.
Which would explain, the name of the series and everything. It's oh, you wanted more Loki, did you? After we killed him.
Well, here's all of them.
Here's fucking hundreds of them.
Infinite
in
Lokis.
SWAT armour and tweed suits and like spectacles in a library looking really pissed off that one dude's trying to talk to her.
Wow.
We're all Lokis. Wow.
Get my jet ski. Finally get to ride it. Wow, I'm burdened with glorious purpose. Oh, dear me.
I really like that drink now.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good. It's good, isn't it?
It's a good
it
show,
continues to
and
be good.
I can't wait to see how it ends. And we're open to interpretation and adaptation, which I think is why, for the most part, we both enjoyed Black Widow. There he goes.
You should use that as the title song instead of "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
Yes,
a shitty cover of Teen Spirit,
and without even using the words Black Widow, like just dick teasers, like. Give us a little wiggle.
Like the
give our penis a little musical tickle, and be like, "Oh, we're going to use the Alice Cooper song, but you're not going to hear the words."
Like the end credits of Iron Man.
Iron Man, yeah, but they just go in on it,
but doesn't actually have the lyrics in it.
Yeah, because they're like, you know, you don't need us to elaborate. Just really quick side note: I watched Spider-Man 3 last night because we watched 2 earlier in the week.
Oh, God!
And then Lucy went, "I really want to watch the outtakes for number 3 because they are probably the most."
Yeah.
The most famous DVD outtakes of all time.
Yeah.
And I went, if we do that, we're going to watch number 3. She was like, you're going to make me watch the outtakes afterwards, aren't you? I was like, yes, I am. We are committed to this trilogy. We are doing it. And we did. And again, I enjoy Spider-Man 3. It's awful, but like everything that Sam Raimi gets to do that is completely his vision is really nice.
Yeah, the Sandman stuff's great.
And his take on Peter becoming cocky and confident after the black suit becomes a part of his life absolutely fits that Peter Parker. He would think he's being cool whilst looking like a fucking idiot.
No, Peter Parker's a fucking dweeb to start.
But the problem is, I've realised my main issue with that film is now, aside from Avi Arad's interference and all the stuff that Sam Raimi was made to put in, our 3 leads, Peter Parker, Mary Jane Watson and Harry Osborn, are all unlikable as fuck throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
Peter acts like a dick pre-symbiote.
Yeah.
So when he gets the symbiote, he's no different, he's just dancing a bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's weird. That's really weird to me. Now, had he been completely pure and innocent and then become a dick, I think it would play better. But anyway,
I think it would play better at the time.
The end credits music is the most late 90s end credits music you will ever hear, which is weird considering it's a 2007 movie.
Yeah, but
like
it
all the
feels
songs
like
that play in the end
90s,
credits, it's weird. Whereas the credits for number 1 and number 2 all sound like, these are mid 2000s like new metal, pop metal kind of songs. And number 3 is just like, who put on this REM cover album? Like, what's happening? This is really weird. Black Widow opening credits, Smells Like Teen Spirit, fit weird, didn't it? So it was a cool. I liked the sequence, but that music took me out.
The sequence goes on too long. So Black Widow's pretty good. It's solid, decent Marvel action.
Yeah, it's B tier.
I have some problems with it.
I have quite a few actually, but I still dug it.
We'll talk about the problems first, and then we'll talk about everything we like about it, which is quite a lot. But the problems are, one, the pacing's all over the place.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Which is sort of exacerbated by the fact that they open with a long flashback sequence, then you get a long title sequence with this terrible cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit, and then you get... Yeah, I hate it. Please stop. Alright,
Go get popcorn.
No, don't.
Here's your toilet break.
No, it's just so fucking maudlin. And
I keep bringing up that fucking that whatever the advert was where it used a cover of you're the one that I want from Greece. It's and my heart is set on you. It's like, what are you doing?
No,
you've cut this song's throat and bled it of everything that makes it interesting. Sorry. So you get that, and then you get a setting to sort of let us know where we are.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of like, its main problem then, I find, pacing-wise, is the action beats are all really interesting, but the best shit in the movie from that point is the familial quiet scenes.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where they're so good that the action almost feels like it's getting in the way of something else.
I think in some way, I think it might be the case. I don't know. I'm not listening to Kate Shortland, the director, talk about this movie a lot, but it does feel like something that people have talked about who've worked on Marvel movies before who are not necessarily used to doing action stuff is that Marvel would just be like, oh no, we have a team for that, don't worry about it. So it feels almost like it's a different film that they just put in.
There's very few directors that sort of come out of it and said like, oh no, I was across like every aspect of how it was delivered. And they're the ones that were the ones that collaborated with like the stunt teams and the second units and everything, like more like
the Russos,
Taika Waititi, like because you can tell because the way the action's choreographed in his Thor movie, there's an awful lot of the same tonal humour that's in the rest of the film. And it sort of
there's some really neat choreography in this, but it's quite choppily edited.
Do you know which one it reminded me of the most? And not because of the obvious reason, dear listener. Captain Marvel. There's some pacing issues with it. And I felt like the action, mostly down to the editing and the choices of shots, the action wasn't translated too well.
No.
Like, you can see what's happening in each fight scene, but at no point does that camera... Jackie Chan has a lot of things we should not learn from him, mostly in his personal life. But in terms of as a filmmaker, can everyone who's making action in Hollywood today just watch a shitload of Jackie Chan, please?
Yeah.
Because he knows how to like go and pull the camera back and show what the fuck is happening. All the shit we've worked at really carefully to choreograph and stage, show it.
Yeah, you're doing a disservice to your stunt performers, essentially.
Yeah.
So that's a problem with it.
Yeah.
And also, towards the end, there's a gaping plot hole.
Oh, which one?
So...
there's a few, but go on, which one?
The one that got me is... So, as the movie ends... The bad guy's been defeated. The new Red Room's been destroyed.
Yeah.
And
and
Thunderbolt Ross is on his way because they had already put out
or at least one shot of William Hurt in the front of a car.
Yeah.
And then a lot of shots of Jeeps are on their way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
it's interesting that maybe they just didn't have him for the day. But go on.
Yeah. Because Widow because Tasha has sort of she's on the run from Ross after the events of Civil War, but. She's brought him in as the sort of bigger fish to help deal with the Red Room, but then they dealt with the Red Room already, but he's still on his way, because he doesn't know why he's going there, he just knows he's going after Natasha. And then you get the shot of... she makes the rest of the family, sort of lets them escape.
They have their goodbye moment.
Yeah, they have the goodbye moment.
Which is quite well played as a goodbye moment. It's like, okay, I believe this is the last interaction these characters have before she goes into the events of Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah. And you had this moment of her looking at as the Jeeps arrive, and then it fades, and then it's 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And you don't know, and she's got the blonde hair, she's got the Infinity War outfit on, which you now know is the vest it was Yelena's.
Which didn't feel as gratuitous as like all the stuff in Solo, for example.
No, it was quite subtle.
It was like, oh, that's good. So you're watching it and you're going, oh, it's kind of like the vest she wears. And then they keep chatting about how it's got pockets. It's like, oh, what a fucking miracle. A female clothing item with pockets.
Yeah.
This is great. And then at the end, it's like, go on, you can have... And it's totally sisterly and it doesn't feel gratuitous.
Again, their relationship's great. Florence Pugh's the best thing in this movie. But
we'll
get to that.
Yeah.
But
then, just flashes forward 2 weeks.
Just flashes forward 2 weeks.
And she's now like salon dyed blonde.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, hang on. So this is still 2 years before Infinity War.
Yeah.
And 5 years after that is the bulk of Endgame, where it's just coming out the tip of her hair. And how much bleach did she use? That's 7 years. 7 years as a blonde.
She gets her Quinjet
from one dye job.
There's a lot more. She can
dye it. That's the plot hole. That's the biggest plot.
There's a lot more blonde going around because there's fewer people to dye it. With.
True.
It's a boon in natural resources.
Our stock of blonde dye doubled after half the population disappeared in a snap.
Blondes, I guess, do have more fun if they've not been snapped. So
I see why they did that. They did the blonde thing at the end to be like, see,
it ties in.
Infinity War, but it's like, why was it 2 weeks later? Like, give us 1 year later,
or just give us what actually happened between Ross and Widow. Instead of it just going 2 weeks later, and it just feels like there's a missing scene.
Also,
it's very odd.
She says like she's going to go break some friends out. So it's like, oh, so is this around the same time as the Tony Stank cell phone from Steve scene? Where, because like as Tony's like reading Steve's message at the end of Civil War, that's where we see him breaking like Scott and, well, doesn't break Scott out, does he? Going to break out the others in the very end of Civil War. We see him like outside the cells, which we then learn in Ant-Man and the Wasp is like, well, actually, Scott and Barton were let out on probation tags.
They took plea deals.
So it's like, are they trying to do it so it syncs up with that? Because then it's like, so that means the events of Black Widow happened like over the course of a couple of days, and then 2 weeks later she buggers off to do that, and it's like, just make it a year later. And then as annoying as it is, we don't see the resolution of the scene with Ross. We can at least go, well, obviously she got out of it.
Yeah. But that's the most annoying. The most annoying thing is that the plot just stops and doesn't resolve itself because you set up the conflict with Ross in the first act, and then he comes back into it, and you just don't do anything with it. It's very weird.
When we saw it in the cinema. By the way, first full-on cinema trip for me and Lucy. First one for you guys since sort of toward the end of last year, right?
I know we went...
you went earlier this year to see...
I went earlier this year with Hassan to see Raya and the Last Dragon.
Ah, there you go. But that was really cool. But Keeks pointed out, she was like, why don't you just duck behind some rubble or something? We just see her hiding. Because then we can at least buy the idea that she snuck away before Ross arrived.
Which she could do, but...
It's weird. It's because they wanted the action shot and they stood there like, Scarlett Johansson profile shot, cut to black.
It honestly does feel like it's like missing reel. It's like they're doing the fucking in Death Proof and Planet Terror where you've got the missing reel bit, but it's actually in a fucking Marmot. It's like it's just, and it's I guess you can sort of fill in the blanks like in your mind, but you shouldn't have to do that in a film.
The film should tell you a story.
So it's almost like it needed another draft. But those problems aside, I thought it was real solid and real good fun. What issues did you have with it before we get into the really positive stuff?
I mean, my biggest issues, my absolute biggest issues were just editing, and I feel like the script needed another draft.
Yeah.
Just one more go over, and it would have been nice and tight. Because as it was, there were flashes of brilliance, mostly in the quiet scenes. Yeah. My God, the quiet scenes were brilliant. I loved the opening.
Yeah.
I adored the opening set in 95. I thought that was brilliant.
The core family dynamic of...
And that horror of them arriving at the... where is it they land? Cuba. They arrive there, and Volkov basically taking the Romanov daughters away. Dreykov daughters, that's it, yeah. Of course, because she dubs herself Romanov later. I'm assuming Yelena just goes, Belova, sure, that's my surname.
I think those were probably their names anyway.
Oh, so they found out the birth names.
Yeah, because they were assigned to be a family.
Yeah.
Before the 95
That's something that I thought was nice and disturbing. The credits made that unclear, because it's like, they have a family life. And then the credits, you see them being posed for Christmas photos, things like that. And then later in the film, we learned that happened pre-America.
Yeah, because you see in that intro sequence, you see young Tasha try and bring the album with him.
Pre-blue hair dye Tasha as well, in the photos.
Yeah.
So it's like...
and she gets made to left it behind, and then she finds it later in...
Yeah, and Melina's got it. Showing that she does have some kind of affection for them still as a family.
And so, they kind of get put together, but as a sort of fake family, but they have kind of a familial bond, and it is the sort of interplay of... Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh, David Harbour, and Rachel Weisz.
The best scene of the entire movie is them all sat round the dinner table at Melina's pig farm.
Yeah.
And then the following scene with Yelena and Alexei.
Yeah.
And them singing American Pie. Like that is that sequence of 15 minutes was the best part of the film. Yeah. It was so solid. Great character work. And again, it was wonderful because it was that whole thing too of you see them as a family at the beginning and it's really sweet, but obviously there's something wrong. And naturally, as a viewer, you want Black Widow to be okay because you know the character.
Yeah. And
you see family unit, you see the parents protecting the kids, you want them to be okay, and then you get that brilliant moment of horror where Volkov just takes them both.
Yeah.
And it's and Dad is totally fine with it. Because he's like, yeah, this is part of it, it's okay. You'll be alright, you'll be strong. My girls are strong. So you're notice that in the earliest trailers there was shots of him later being like, my girl's strong.
Yeah,
They were not in the film. So I'm wonder how much was cut out.
It does feel like there's stuff missing.
There's
it's
odd.
There's
some weird chops.
Odd.
So that horror there, and then juxtaposed with when they finally get back together later, there's natural tension. But Melina and Alexei especially are just this is fucking wonderful, isn't it? This is great.
Because they clearly still have feelings for each other. And
also,
a close relationship.
Also had that enough of a separation.
Yeah.
They were it was the job, but it was a great job, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I adored you. You were great. And, it was wonderful. And it was kind of romantic, and we totally fucked, and this is wonderful. Yeah. Isn't life fantastic? But it's good to see you. Anyway, hi, girls, who saw it as way more than just a job. How are you both doing? Why are you both sad?
But I think they all saw it as more than just a job.
Yeah, well, the girls even more so.
Yeah, how much they admit it becomes different over the course of the film.
Oh, God, Yelena... Just the whole, it was real to me stuff is, so effective.
She was 3.
Yeah. Yeah. She was told from an early age, this is a mission, it's a mission, it's a mission, but like it was also her childhood.
Well, I mean, how much can you condition a 3-year-old?
Yeah. Oh, do you remember we were trying to work out the age after the film, like how old Natasha would be then as everything goes by? So somewhere in one of the Marvel productions, I saw this the other day, her birth year is listed as 1984. So she is 11 in the events of the flashback at the beginning of the film.
That works out.
Meaning that the events of Infinity War are in 2018, so they're what, 13 years later?
Yeah.
Is that right?
No, 23 years.
23 years later. So she is 34 in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Means she's 39 in Endgame.
Yeah.
So I buy that.
I buy that.
So I was trying to figure it out. I was like, how old is Natasha?
Scarlett Johansson's like 35, isn't she?
Yeah. So like by the time of Endgame, she is about to turn or has turned 40 by the events of Endgame.
I can buy that.
Which completely makes sense. And also kind of adds reverse weight to the trauma of this movie, because you're like, holy shit, like she's lived 5 decades on this planet, and never really got to address the trauma of her childhood until this one story where like it just comes back at this period in time.
Scarlett Johansson's 37.
Oh right, yeah, so there we go.
So yeah, so you're playing with like 5 years and stuff, and also,
wow, she's been playing this role since her mid-20s. That's a weird thought, isn't it? And that's my other big critique of the film. We don't really get to know who Natasha is.
No, for a film that's about Natasha, it's actually more about
she's still who we've already met.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's in character there, is that Natasha is a wall.
Yeah.
And the only time we really see her be vulnerable in any of the movies is we see a flash of it on her face when Loki starts whipping out secrets, including Volkov's daughter. Dracov's daughter, sorry.
Stop saying Volkov.
Yeah, what's Volkov?
I don't know.
Dracov's daughter. What a way to plant that seed, though.
Yeah.
That's either the makers of Black Widow going, let's use that.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. There's no way that they've set this plot up before they... Yeah.
Oh, because of course we have mentions of Dracov's daughter in Budapest in Avengers, so we kind of now get a sense of like where everything happened.
So it feels it fills in those blanks, but it doesn't.
But so aside from her like momentary kind of like, what the fuck? How do you know about that? But then she obviously turns it around anyway and turns it to a thank you for your cooperation, which she then uses against Dracov in this.
Yep.
She says that at the end. She's like, that's a nice little bookend. It's
part of a training.
But the only other time we see her vulnerable is the peanut butter jelly sandwich scene with Steve in Endgame. And that I kind of buy, because by that point, she's 39. She's been through so much shit. She has lost everything. She can't be stoic anymore. It's gone. I completely buy it. And it's almost like that's her being unlocked. So it completely makes sense that she then makes the sacrifice play later. Because she's like, you know what? This is the best thing I could do. Like, I want everything to be back how it should be.
Yeah.
And if I have to die for that to happen, then I'm going to make it happen. And it makes sense.
It does make this movie feel sort of arrested, because she can't have that character out because she's already had it after the events of this movie.
Now, the way to have done it in this is to have someone confront her with her own psychology and have Natasha just react with her eyes. Like, just have those moments where she's like, she doesn't say anything, but you can see it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let Johansson act her balls off without saying anything.
Yeah.
That would have been the way to do it, and then just make it a solo adventure where it is. But the other way to do it is, Carmen Sandiego, Indiana Jones, that shit. Like, make it so it's just like she's the central character, and even if we don't really dig emotionally into her in a way we haven't before, we come out going, "Oh my god, isn't Black Widow the coolest?"
I mean, we do. Yeah. It's one of those things. It
like Saturday morning cartoon it. Like, make it so that she's the focal point still, just because she's the most badass and the coolest thing in the movie. The problem is, she gets upstaged by 2 other characters.
Yeah. I don't, and
although I do love the fact that we see in her spare time she watches Bond films and knows them word for fucking word. Specifically the Roger Moore era.
Yeah.
You want a safe house? Great. Oh, what do I need? Well, I need this, I need this, I need this, and I need fucking... Moonraker.
Fucking hell.
Her fixer was Rick Mason.
Yeah.
We were asking, weren't we, afterwards, we were like, does he get named? Yeah, they dropped Mason. One of them dropped Mason in the conversation.
Shalana, I think. But again, that's what I mean, going back to like the editing thing.
Yeah.
It's like the fact that he doesn't get a proper naming.
Like, we just know that he's a fixer.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's like, that name sounds familiar, you probably played Miles Morales. Rick Mason is the older brother or younger brother, based on which continuity, of Phineas Mason, the Tinkerer.
Yeah.
Although these
two
MCU
clearly
versions
not related,
definitely aren't
yeah.
related, because the Tinkerer's the sort of scruffy bearded chubby guy in Homecoming who's like in his late 20s at the most. So they ain't related. But again, whatever, adaptation. It's just a shame they didn't really do more with it. Like, we get the sense that he's got contacts.
Yeah.
So, like, allude that maybe he's a former SHIELD or something. Just give us a little something.
I think that this movie's more concerned. I think this is part of what you mean by...
He sort of plays a Q role.
Yeah.
But at least we know Q's called Q.
Yeah.
We get a sense of, like, what his deal is.
I think this is what you mean by saying that the script needed another pass. It's just like things like that where they're more concerned with characters show up and do a thing, but they're less concerned with who those characters actually are and what their relationships are, apart from the central four. And the problem being is that of the central four, two of the performers are clearly having a better time than anybody else and just run away with the whole film. Namely, Florence Pugh and David Harbour.
I mean, bit of a shame. That was interesting. Bit of a shame when it comes to Rachel Weisz, because like
they don't have much to do.
She's good in it.
Yeah.
But then you look at the function of Melina in it outside of the best part, the familial element within Act 2.
Yeah.
Her function is to tell Natasha to sever her nerve endings in her nose.
Yeah.
Break herself and Alexia out of the cell. And then she gets a cool action beat on the Red Room base, like where she's like zip lining around and kicking ass.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, okay. But that's also, I guess, again, a fault of the script, because we don't see... The last we see Melina, she gets shot in the prologue.
Yeah.
And then we don't see her again
Start
till,
of the third act.
21 years later, where they go to her for information, and it's like, End
of the second act, start of the third act is where Melina comes back into it, and it's just...
Yeah.
They do so much.
One thing we've not brought up as a nitpick is, and some people might be going, why have you not brought it up yet? Is Taskmaster. Because I think both of us had no fucking problem with what they did with
Taskmaster's fine, yeah. Like, it's a neat concept.
It's really weird to see the internet suddenly stand the Taskmaster in a way where they're annoyed that it isn't a direct translation.
It's like, they've taken the concept, and they've retooled it so it connects to the main villain of the film, and also ties into Natasha's history, because that's what this film is about.
Yeah.
Again, I think the script kind of fumbles the execution of those ideas, but it's a neat idea. And it's kind of what you want to do.
What's the coolest thing about Taskmaster? If you just say to somebody, you just introduce someone to the idea of the character, you give them like a 5-minute presentation of like, here's the Taskmaster, here he is in animation, and here he is like, here's some comic panels, like, what would they say is the coolest thing? They go, oh, the fact that he mimics everyone, that's really cool. There you go, that's in the film. It's completely covered.
Either that,
the Taskmaster mimicking abilities and tech and fighting styles is in the movie.
Either that or a really cool fucking skull helmet, which is also in the movie.
So
there we go.
But then everyone goes like, well, what about his personality? If anyone is listening to this and is like, they did the Taskmaster dirty, guys, Tony Masters wasn't in this film.
No.
They did not do him dirty. He's not in the film.
Yeah.
There's a character referred to as the Taskmaster program in the film that does the things that the Taskmaster does. It ain't him. Guess what? It's a protocol. It's a bunch of tech. They'll probably bring him in at some point.
Yeah, if they want, they can still use that version of Taskmaster if they want.
Yeah.
But they used this version of Taskmaster and did something interesting with it.
Yeah. And again, I love the Taskmaster as a character. Well, I've adored him. I've read that Deadpool run where he's a prominent figure. I've read that run of Agent X where he's a prominent figure.
Yeah.
The Nick Spencer stuff with him and Black Ant in the last few years has been freaking hilarious. Like, in the Amazing Spider-Man. Like, Taskmaster's great. I fucking adore Taskmaster. I'm sick of the Avengers Square Enix game version of him because they still haven't come up with any more fucking supervillains. I'm so bored of seeing him. But I love Taskmaster. I have no problem with what they did with the Taskmaster.
Yeah,
I think it serves this film
what the issue is.
Brilliantly.
It
you
is
want him
weird.
being all snarky and quippy, we've got Alexi and Yelena for that. If everyone was being quippy, you'd be complaining that it was Avengers 1 again. You'd be like, it's just, we've seen this. It's like,
the only odd thing about Taskmaster is the cast Olga Kurylenko who's in her 40s.
Yeah, playing someone who's meant to be like 16, maybe. Because again, she's Budapest happens 5 years before the events of Avengers. Avengers is 2012, so this is 2007, right? Yeah. In that, she's clearly about 7 or 8 at the most.
Yeah,
maybe a very sort of like
say
very young-looking 7, 8,
maybe 9 or 10.
Okay, so
You don't get a good
let's
look
say
at
9.
it, really.
Let's say 9. So 9. Black Widow takes place in 2016. So 9 years later.
18 at the most.
Played by a 41-year-old actor.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's just odd.
That is a
even with the sort
weird
of
touch.
scarring and...
She's got a very youthful face.
Yeah, it's just
but
an
it
odd
is
choice.
kind of like, what are you going to do with that? Like, if you choose to bring her back at some point. But then again, that's something where another draft of the script would have helped, because you could explain that they've been, like... oh my god, what's his name? Dreykov, thank you. You could explain that Dreykov has been doing experiments on her this entire time.
Yeah.
She could have been aged up. She could have been part, like, to help with the mimicry. She could have been given sort of a version of the Russian super soldier serum. Do you know what I mean? Just something to explain that she's been tampered with. Because that's another thing in the film. He explains that she's essentially been... She's been brainwashed the same way the current widows of the Red Room have. Which is revealed by the whole plot of this being an antidote to cure them of the brainwashing, is that the brainwashing is not necessarily just like, stare at like fucking our man Flint, stare at the spinning disc and become my slave. Like it's more of a, they've been chemically and neurologically conditioned over years to be this, but that chemical has a hitch in it, and someone has discovered a cure, and that's the whole crux of the movie. So, and that's, Yelena is a brainwashed, like, soldier until she's hit with the cure, and then suddenly he's like, oh, fuck, I remember my family, I remember all this, we need to figure it out.
They sort of imply later on that they remember all that stuff anyway, but the conditioning means that they're sort
just
of...
plow on with the mission.
Yeah, they can't break through that
Taskmaster,
control.
she has also got that.
Yeah.
Because she's set free at the end. So, that's why she's following orders, and that's why she's doing what she's doing. As far as the mimicry... We are told that she's had a skill at learning all this as time goes by, but also we see her at one point, one of the widows plugging like a drive into the back of her helmet to load in the next mission.
Yeah.
So it's like, right, so the Taskmaster abilities are not necessarily Dreykov's daughter's Antonia, there's your Tony Masters reference.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily Antonia's superpower. That might be the suit.
Yeah, it's never really made clear. So
yeah, which again, one more pass on the script would have helped with that, but it means that the Taskmaster as a concept could completely be based on the suit and its abilities. So, if anyone's listening to this and still going, but they did my boy dirty. You didn't kick up a fuss with Whiplash having Crimson Dynamo's origin, did you?
No.
You don't give a shit that the new Mandarin, though closer to the original, still isn't the Mandarin. You don't give a shit about that. Oh, what's that? You complaining about Obadiah Stane? No, thought not.
No,
okay,
no, didn't think so.
Let's move on. Isn't it interesting though that the majority of the complaints about it online that have really dug into it all seem to stem from accounts that are also really mad she's a woman? I'm just saying there's a Venn diagram. Anyway, if you're a fan of Taskmaster, be happy. They were never going to do your Taskmaster in a movie.
Yeah.
You got a version of it. Deal. I'm annoyed at what they've done with a lot of the Spidey characters, but you know what I'm not going to do? Spend hours on Twitter complaining about it.
No, you just complain to me about it.
Yeah, on a podcast.
And your poor
Content!
And your poor wife.
Sorry, she's gone deaf in one ear. On purpose. She just folds it. Do you remember when you were kids and people going, look at this, they fold their ear over itself. She just does that now, but she didn't even touch it. It just goes like a plant pod. It just retracts into itself. Speaking of retracting into itself, should we talk about things we liked? That segue didn't make sense, but no one noticed.
David Harbour.
Oh!
And Florence Pugh.
Oh my god.
Just having
a ball.
A whale of a time with their roles. Very happy that we are getting more Yelena, because I think Florence Pugh's great.
She's amazing.
That
post-credit scene, is this the first time a post-credit scene for a movie has gone, you're all going to watch this TV series, right?
Yeah.
But I don't hate that, because even in the context of the films, that still makes sense.
Yeah.
You're like, with the Contessa, Julie Louis-Dreyfus returning, or rather making her first appearance.
I completely forgot. I knew she was supposed to be in this, and then completely forgot about it until the end credit scene. I was like, oh yes, she was supposed to be in this. Which is, again, they don't explain who she is in this. So if this had been her first appearance, it would be, who's this lady? It would have been. It would have been a lot of.
Who's that?
Of YouTube videos going, Contessa, don't explain.
There still will be those, let's be honest. But,
I mean, there were those when we got when she popped me in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So
continuing, or rather furthering the suspicion that she's putting together like the MCU's equivalent of the Thunderbolts, basically like an anti-Avengers team,
or the Dark Avengers.
Dark Avengers.
But yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Which means Yelena will be an antagonist in Hawkeye.
Presumably.
Which is interesting, because the premise of Hawkeye's been revealed as it's sort of similar to like My Life as a Weapon. It's like there's a shitload of assassins after him.
Oh, okay.
So
because of all the shit he did during Endgame.
Yeah. So I kind of like that. It's like, oh, if she's leading the charge, then that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I'm up for that. Good crossover, and it means more Florence Pugh, which will make me happy. She is the ideal sort of fake out antagonist in this. She's brilliant.
She's a great foil to Natasha.
She's a brilliant little sister.
Good, yeah.
Oh my god, the sisterly thing plays off immediately. And watching the behind the scenes, I don't think the Marvel Studios assembled documentaries out as of this recording, but it is coming and on Disney Plus. And just the snippets they've shown so far of them just hanging out and making each other piss themselves. It's like, yep, that's why the chemistry was so good. They got along so well. Which made me very, very happy. And I like her look. I like that it's sort of it's a less it's a not at all egregiously sexy version of Yelena's sort of styles from the comics. Yeah. Because Yelena in the comics, for those who don't know, she's not Natasha's sister, but they're sort of sisterly in the fact that they both went through the same program. She's mostly a villain.
She's older. She's mostly a villain.
Yeah. She's been on the Thunderbolts. She's been a projected love interest of Deadpool, which she has then played into to basically get him to fuck up and help Norman Osborn, her then boss in the Secret Invasion, by taking the Nick Fury weapon that Deadpool was given off of him, and she's been an enemy of the Avengers. She's been an ally. She's just a fun, like, oh, we need a cool spy villain character. Bring in Yelena. Let's go. Black Widow 2. And she's been Black Widow for a period as well at one point.
Which usually goes by Black Widow and they just clarify which one it is. Because one's blonde and one's a redhead.
Black Widow blue. So it's a nice interpretation of it. And again, like anyone kicking up a fuss about Taskmaster, Yelena's not comic accurate.
No.
But they do something interesting with it. As is Red Guardian. He ain't comic accurate, but I'll tell you what he is. Fucking great.
Yeah.
So we get the sense that Alexei was brilliant at what he did. He was Russia's super soldier. He was famous in Russia, but he was mostly downplayed around the rest of the world.
Yeah, it would have been a propaganda thing.
Yeah, and he was active in the 80s and 90s.
Likes to say that he fought Captain America, but couldn't have.
But then insists on it later. Yeah. So it's like, was there another?
No.
Was there another one?
I think he was probably lied to. He was probably sent on a bunch of like sort of sham missions for propaganda, but he didn't know they were sham missions.
Yeah. Maybe he thought they Winter Soldier. Was just told that's Captain America. They've been keeping him going. Maybe it was... I mean, based on when he actually fought him, maybe it was Isaiah Bradley.
Oh, possibly.
If it was like the 70s, there's a bit of a crossover there.
Possibly.
60s, 70s. But, maybe not. But it's interesting, because it's like, okay, all right. I see. I love the arm wrestling bit in the present.
Oh, boo, boo, boo.
He's such a prick.
He's such a dick.
I love his action figure. His little cheesy action figure, like a roll call, like theme song when you press the button.
And he has all these he's like communism slogans and all that. It's just
covered in tattoos as well about the motherland and everything. You're just like, oh, good lord, okay, you are a propaganda machine. But he's woken up from the sort of the pop. I think he's woken up from the dream. Like he believes in the pure intent of what he got into. Yeah, but he knows that everything that put him where he is today was bullshit. Yeah, and he was a pawn in a bigger game.
Yeah, and he's sort of disillusioned by that, but he's still but he still believes in the ideals that he fought for, and he still believes in his family.
Yeah, he just is like, Dracov's a twat.
Yeah.
He was using me. What an arsehole. Because you see that relate when they land in Cuba and they sort of give that little kiss on the cheek kind of moment. You're like, okay, these guys are close. And now he's like, I would wring his fucking neck. And that was another thing that was missed out. That would have been great. Another scene with them two together.
He just gets thrown around by Taskmaster a bit.
Let's touch on Dracov temporarily.
Bless Ray Winston.
Well, here's the thing.
for trying with his accent.
Here's the thing. The accent.
It's not bad.
I think the accent's the only thing that takes away from his performance.
Oh, he's great.
Because he is fucking detestable.
Yeah, Ray Winston's great at being menacing. He always has been.
Proper slimy and really horrible, and it works. And it's that whole like, it's that drunk, creepy granddad energy. It's just like he's really, really unpleasant, and he should be. And that's the point. It's that whole thing of like, I basically rule the Western world, and they don't realise it.
Yeah.
I've got operatives I can send at any time, like, and I'll never run out of them because that's one resource the world will never run out of: lost little girls.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god, and it's sort of creepy without being sexual. It's do you know what I mean? Like, here's that moment where he's touching Melina's face, and you're like, oh, that's a bit, but then you realise, no, he's trying to take the mask off because he's already twigged that it's Natasha.
Yeah.
At that point. So it's like, okay, that's creepy. And again, like he's got the Kilgrave kind of pheromone thing in this case, like you can't hurt him, and he's conditioned all these women, but there's no like sexual predatory thing in this. He's literally like, he thinks so little of women. He's like, oh no, I turn them into killers because that's a tool.
Yeah.
And then I'll get rid of them, and that's it. Like which. It's sort of creepy on a... I respected the fact they didn't go down the sexualized route almost, because it was like, you can do creepy on another level.
Yeah.
And that would have been the more obvious way to go. But we've had that in the MCU. We had it with Kilgrave.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it's still creepy. I love... It's stupid. It's really stupid. But it would fit in a Bond film. The idea of, oh, no, like, nose plugs, whatever, wouldn't help you.
Yeah.
Holding your breath won't help you. You've got to shatter the nerve in your nose. That is a very, like, Bond way. Would this film have benefited if it just lent more into the Bond?
Probably.
Like, specifically the Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan kind
of
tongue-in-cheek.
I think it just could have done with another draft on the script.
Because, again, Volkov's a great villain, and it's that Winter Soldier thing of Alexander Pierce is your antagonist, the Winter Soldier is the super villain, right-hand man threat working on behalf of the villain, and that sort of works really well. Yeah. And same here, Dreykov's the villain, Taskmaster's their henchman.
I think...
And then that horrible thing of like, that's my daughter, you bastard.
Yeah.
She's like this because you tried to kill me, you bastard. A bit of an explanation as to how he got out of that would have been interesting.
Yeah, quite.
Because that explosion was very big, and they were both in that room. Also, great work in terms of makeup in that scene, unless there was some digital trickery. Because Scarlett Johansson in that scene, the flashback, set 5 years prior to Avengers, sat in that car, waiting for the bomb, to trigger the bomb, looked like early 20s Scarlett Johansson.
There's plenty of sort of like digital touching up in this, because they've got the flashback with the younger David Harbour and younger Rachel Weisz.
I wonder how much they did on them in that, because like...
Probably not a ton.
Because the thing is with David Harbour, he instantly looks younger when you shave his face.
Yeah.
Like, he instantly looks younger. And Rachel Weisz is sort of like, not aged since like the mid-2000s.
No. No.
Is this the first movie family unit where you completely are unashamed to say you would smash? Just setting the tone again.
I mean, I guess they're not technically related, so it wouldn't be too weird.
Go to town.
Yeah, probably.
Harbour's got the beard, you can hold on to that and just...
Yeah.
Yeah. So, bye-bye, Miss American Pie.
Indeed.
So, but he's wonderful. I love the suit design. It is that whole, like... It is that thing, isn't it, of like, oh, it's our version of Captain America. Right down to the fucking star on the chest.
Yeah. And his relationship with Elena is such an important part of the film.
Because she idolised him as dad.
Yeah.
Which is opposite to how everyone else has seen him in his life till he was screwed over, where they idolised him as the Red Guardian.
Yeah.
And it's like she loved the man, not the icon. And she's so upset and disappointed by him. And that's the thing as well. He is, like, he cares for them, but he also is a shitheel. Like, he is. Yeah. He's uncaring and ignorant and, you know, and he's not a horrible dad.
He's just a deeply flawed man.
He's just a very, very horrible person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, all that stuff, the familial stuff, aside from the throwaway dirty sex joke I made a moment ago, like, all of that is the best part of the film.
Yeah.
And those two really, really, really carry it. Okay, let's talk highlights. Worst part of the film, In like worst sort of moment of the film for you?
That title sequence.
Suffocating that pig. Come on now. Didn't need to leave it that long. You made your point, Melina. You made me not like you in that moment.
Yeah.
But that was the point. How cold and unfeeling she and Thingy are, despite being all like, "Oh, it's lovely to see you." Anyway, I'm going to suffocate this pig.
Yeah.
And also that. But then again, it led to a brilliant performance from Florence Pugh, where she's obviously not saying anything. No. But you can see she's like
just simmering underneath.
That was me before the chemical. Like holy shit. It's traumatic. And I love the fact she basically just chugs vodka like it's water.
Yep.
Not to lean into the Russian stereotype, but totally lean into the Russian stereotype. Coolest moment in the movie. There's a fair few, but for me, it's the proper hand-to-hand combat the first time Natasha faces off against the Taskmaster.
That is very good.
On the bridge. Because even though she gets her ass beat, seeing the fight styles happen, and then... Oh my god, because him like whipping out the Captain America shield to deflect the bullets.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man swinging on the cord.
Yeah.
And then landing in the exact same fucking way she does, and then they both correct each other, and they are a mirror. It was like, that's how you show the power set.
Yeah.
So easily. It's like, oh, just there it is. That was great.
I think for me it's probably the prison break.
Yes! Oh, poor people who work there who weren't bad guys, who were just feeling their families were now drowned in an avalanche.
Yeah, because it's just... you got three sort of
that was a really good set piece, actually, yeah.
Because you've got the ground level with Alexei trying to get out. You've got
floundering. Like this could be so much easier if you don't make a scene, and he immediately makes a scene. Yeah. He's like, before I leave, I'm going to fuck up the guards.
But he also has these really neat moments where he's just like leaping, sort of free climbing, and you sort of gets to show off the fact that he is enhanced.
Yeah, like he is somehow on a prison diet. Let himself go.
Yeah.
So maybe he's stealing other people's lunches or something. I don't know.
Probably.
Or maybe the serum's wearing down a bit.
Yeah, it's not going to be a perfect.
It's not the Steve Rogers one. No. That was the one.
So
that was the super soldier serum that worked perfectly, and everyone's been chasing it ever since. And then finally gets done in Falcon and Winter Soldier with the Flag Smashers.
Yeah. So you've got him like on the ground. You've got Tasha on the bridge, and you got Yelena in the helicopter. And just their sort of interplay, their banter,
when she gets the Gatling gun.
Yeah.
Also, the rocket launcher and fires at the Gatling gun mount on top of the turret.
Very good.
Oh, it's so brilliant. She's just like, fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Deals with that and gets back in the seat and is like, right.
Yeah. I think it's just a really neat sequence. Really, really neat sequence. As far as action set pieces go in the movie, that's probably the best one. And it comes more or less bang in the middle, so...
Yeah.
It's your sort of middle peak.
I'm giving an honourable mention to the motorcycle chase, because
I
kind of like the ballsiness of the Taskmaster just being in a fucking tank assault vehicle.
I feel like there's some dodgy CGI in that, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, yeah. There's a few bits in there where it's like, But,
like with the armoured vehicle coming around the corner, looks weird at one point. And then the way that the car that they're in, when it gets flipped, just sort of bounces down into the subway station. It just feels a bit weightless.
I love the force of it, though. Like, just there's a couple of moments where it just, like, rams and stuff. And you go, oh, they don't care. Like, this is how desperate they are to stop that chemical being reproduced. Like, they don't care about being out in the open in a freaking tank.
Don't care about collateral damage, no.
They're not fussed. Because, again, it can be explained away. Dreykov's got enough, like, world leaders in his pocket that he can be like, just say that there was a military test gone wrong or something. Like, it could just be a throwaway thing. Any particular character beat or moment that you're like, that was bob on? Because I mean, for me, I keep going back to it, but it's the dinner sequence in the second act where they're all sat on the table.
He made toilet on my hands. That whole sequence between, and it cuts back and forth between Alexei and Yelena and Tasha and Melina, but the best stuff is Alexei and Yelena and him sort of like trying to relate to her.
I wanted to be alone.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk. All right, then we just sit.
Just sit. And he's desperately trying to sort of relate to her, and it's not until he remembers the song.
Yeah.
And that she realises that he knows every fucking word of it and has remembered it.
Meaning that they have that. He cared.
Yeah.
Like he invested in that.
Yeah, they do have that connection. I think that's a really, really strong character sequence. And, I know we're going to see more of Yelena. I hope we see more of Alexei as well.
I think about those key bits. Obviously, time kind of changes these things, but like, where do you sort of Where'd you kind of say there's the A tier where it's like these are the MCU movies that just fucking delivered. B tier, do you know what? Pretty damn great. I have fun with these. C tier, kind of missed the mark, but let's face it, no MCU movie has been a bad movie. There's just been some that missed stuff. Where would you stick it? Because I'm kind of like, I think it sort of sits at the bottom of B tier for me.
I think it's top end of C tier. Like, it's better than like your Iron Man 2, your Thor: The Dark World. I need to rewatch a lot of these actually because I've not watched a lot of them.
I think Dark World might hit different now that Marcus and McFeely have really made it integral to everything.
Well, I don't think
in the last few years.
I don't think that can save
not the film itself. But I wonder if it'll feel different knowing how interwoven it is, in particular to Thor and Loki's story arcs.
Yeah, maybe
and later stories.
Because it is weird that this is essentially a very long TV series. This is essentially a serialized story over 23 films. So I can see that maybe changing. But I'm gonna have to rewatch a lot of these because a lot of these I've actually not seen since their like home release. Like I don't think I've rewatched All the Dark World since its DVD release. I definitely haven't rewatched.
Yeah, where are all the Malekith stands complaining that they fucked Malekith over?
I definitely haven't watched like Iron Man 2 for about 5 or 6 years. So I might have to go back and sort of rethink my rankings on these.
I still quite like Iron Man 2. It's a filler. It's absolutely filler. But there's enough in there that I'm invested. Justin Hammer, and I think Mickey Rourke's performance is really interesting.
I don't really dislike any of the Marvel movies.
The suitcase armor.
Yeah. Silver Centurion. It's
pretty fucking cool.
Stark
sitting in a donut. It's an iconic meme image.
Yeah.
Just sitting in a donut, eating donuts.
It's infinitely memeable. But yeah, I think this is, it's towards the lower end of Marvel's quality arc.
Yeah.
But
it was a really nice night out at the cinema, though.
It was a really nice night out at the cinema.
It was a really nice reintroduction. If you have the option, folks, and you are, like, psychologically braced to do it, I'd recommend seeing it in the cinema over streaming it. I think you're paying a little for the experience of the film itself. I think you're paying a little too much to stream it on all access.
Yeah.
That being said, depends on how many people are in your house.
Yeah.
And also, genuinely, if you're like, I just can't face the cinema, I'd say, go for it, but don't rush.
No.
Don't rush.
No,
It's
not
because it's a prequel. Nothing that is said about it on the internet will spoil the MCU experience for you if you want to wait for it to be free.
And also, like, it's just not. It's not that good.
Yeah,
like it's not bad. It's a quote unquote bad Marvel movie is still better than a lot of other movies.
Yeah.
Case in point, I watched The Tomorrow War last week, and it's dreadful.
Why did you do that?
It's a hell of a lot. Even if it's.
Why did you do that to yourself? It's just a plot hole. The whole film's a plot hole.
It wasn't my choice.
Oh god.
We both regretted it.
Oh god.
But
the entire film's a plot hole.
But it gave us a chuckle.
We're going back to get Warriors. Why don't you just go back and stop the thing that starts the war in the first place?
Don't. Doesn't make no.
How are you all going to be alive if all your family that came from the past die in the future? Can we please stop giving Chris Pratt leading roles?
I'd love to get into it, but I think we need to wrap up this week's podcast.
That's true.
Because I've got things to do.
You've got people to do and places to think.
Yes.
Wait, what?
Be back here. Same time next week. Not you, the listeners. The listeners. Be back here. I'm going to see you before then.
Yes.
So be back here, same time next week. We will talk about the Loki finale.
In depth.
In deep depth.
We're going to go elbow deep.
Yeah.
I think.
And I'll, of course, get your comments about that, Black Widow, whatever else is on your mind.
In before Friday the 16th in the evening. That's your target. If you don't get them in by then, we'll read them out the week after. So if you do miss it, that's fine. We'll read them out the week after.
BigDamnContact@gmail.com or tweet us at BigDamnCast. You can watch us stream at twitch.tv/BigDamnStream. I'll be doing some Detroit Become Human on Sunday night.
Ooh, boy.
And then...
Get your Clancy out and make it brown.
The best part of that game is Clancy Brown and Hank and Connor. But yeah, that's another thing. And if you want to support us, you can do that over at patreon.com/BigDamnCast. Those a bit of money to help us keep doing this nonsense and grow a bit in the future. So yes, Thanks for joining us, and be good to each other. And did you think?
Clancy Brown is in MTV, remember? Yeah.
Can you remember, audience?
Just checking.
That's an podcast.